Hey guys, in this video I've got a very big, very exciting modification to fit up to my Project Defender. It's going to totally transform the front end and I can't wait to get it fitted up, so let's jump right into it.
Now if you've been following the journey of this build, you'll already have seen the modifications I've made so far, with a big one being removing the roof to turn this into my dream soft top Land Rover. And in the last few videos I've been fitting the small details that have really transformed this build. But there's clearly a big part missing from the front of the Defender that you guys have been asking me what's going to go there. And yes, you guessed it, in today's video we're going to be solving that by fitting up a brand new bumper.
So here it is guys, the straight DRL front bumper from the guys at ORE. I wanted the straight bumper to give it more of a heritage look but also keep that modern twist with the DRLs. This is a stainless steel bumper and I'll tell you more about that as we get into the video. In the kit we've got the DRLs, we've got the stainless steel fixings, so let's jump into installing this and I'll tell you a little bit more about this bumper. I just wanted to show you this ORE cranked bumper that I've had fitted to Scout for over 2 years now, and you can see it basically looks box fresh. The beauty of the ORE product is that if you scratch or scuff any of the powder coating, the surrounding area won't bubble, won't blister and won't peel away, which means whilst you may have a little bit of damage to the bumper, it won't spread any further. Now I bet many bumpers that are 2 years old don't look as good as this, which is why I've opted to fit an ORE bumper to Project Blue. So the first task we're going to do is mount up the electrics. These are what are going to power the DRL running lights. ORE have provided in the kit some fresh brackets for the DRL lights. Obviously third parties don't use the ORE powder coating system, so we've got some nice stainless fixtures, which means that these aren't going to rust and corrode like they might do if you go ahead without using them. So we're going to mount those up to the new lights first, and then we're going to have a look at the electrics. So here we've got the 2 plugs that go into the back of each light. We've then got this switch box which effectively controls whether or not you have the side lights on and the DRLs on. And then we have 2 leads, one to the power, one to the earth on the battery, and then the third lead, I've lost it, here it is. The third lead goes into the side lamps. This is what controls the switch on and off. When power goes to the side lights, it turns the DRLs off. There's just 2 bolts in each light, which I undo to remove the old bracket. The ORE bracket then slots in and fixes in the same place. Next up we can fit the DRLs into the bumper. The bumpers have captive bolts already in them, so we just slot these into place and do the nut up, tighten them up, and then we can adjust the angle to make sure they're sitting nice and flush in the bumper.
Now while I get these fitted up, I'll tell you a little more about the bumper itself. This bumper is part of the new stainless steel range from ORE, and whilst the ORE powder coating system is great at preventing rust, a stainless bumper should last a lifetime. ORE have adapted their powder coating system to work with stainless steel, meaning that you won't get any flaking powder coating if you happen to scratch the bumper. There's no point having a stainless steel bumper with shabby flaking powder coat, which is why ORE have taken the time to make sure their famous powder coating system is compatible with stainless steel. With the DRLs now mounted into the bumper, it was time to fit up these backing plates. These prevent any mud from flicking up into the back of the lights and stop them from overheating. Once again, another nice touch from the guys at ORE. I secured the plates in place and then connected the wiring loom into the back of each light. So next up we've got the electrics. We've got these 2 wires connected up for the lights, and we've got the power and the earth that we need to rig up next. I'm going to run these along the chassis rails, hopefully you can see in there, and they go through into the seat box, and I can show you on the other side where there's a factory grommet. So what I'm going to do is extend these 2 wires slightly with this extra wire that I've got, just so I've got enough cable to get me to the battery box. And then what I'm going to do is I've got some extra conduit here. I just bought this off Amazon, which will just make sure the job's really neat and the cables are nice and safe and tucked out the way when they're running down the chassis rail. I cut the wires in the loom to be able to extend the wiring to reach the seat box. I could then solder the new wires in place and run the wires through the conduit to keep everything tidy.
So we've now got the wires extended. They're running through this conduit, and this conduit's going to run down the chassis rail. So it's going to go up along there, it's going to be cable tied to it, and then if I walk round, there's a grommet in here. It's going to come through this grommet. I'm going to pull it through. I've got my screwdriver in here just so I know which grommet I'm aiming for. So I'm going to run that now down through the battery box, and then we've got the wires loosely kind of in place, and then we can get the bumper mounted up. So what we have now is the bumper connected up. I've run that conduit through. If we come up to the top here, you can see down here it's running along the chassis rail, and then it goes into the body of the car, where if I come round, you can see it coming out through this grommet and up. I've loosely connected all this together, just like literally twisted it together just to test it. So we've now got the electrics all connected. We've got the wires running through the conduit along the chassis rail into the battery box. The lamp wire I've left loose only because I'm going to be changing out the side lights, probably for coloured lenses, so I don't want to go messing with any of that wiring just yet. But once that's connected, that will effectively turn the DRLs off when the side lights are running. The only thing left to do now is just to double check all that wiring's good. I'll go start the engine, check the DRLs come on, and then we're ready to mount up the bumper and tidy up and cable tie the wiring out the way so it's not going to get in the way of anything. Hey, there we go. So the DRLs are now running. I'm really happy with that. Checked all the wiring, we're all good to go. So final thing to do is to make sure I fit the right terminals to the battery box, and then I can mount the bumper up and tidy up all of the wiring after that.
With the wiring in the conduit, I used adhesive pads to cable tie it neatly all in place.
So now it's time for the exciting bit where we're going to mount the bumper up to the body of the car now all the electrics are done. ORE again have thought of everything, and they've created these captive nut plates which make it so much easier to fit the bumper to the body. If you've ever had to take a bumper off or put a bumper on using the standard spring clips, you know how much of a pain that can be. They normally clip to the bumper of the car and you can't really tell exactly where the bolts are going to line up. With these plates, they've got this tab so that once the bolts are dropped through the chassis and through the bumper, we can wiggle these captive nuts into place and align it up much easier.
With the 4 bolts all tightened up securing the bumper to the chassis, it was then time to take a step back and have a look at the final fit.